Hi everyone, welcome to my second video on sentence errors. This one's on run-on sentences. That is, sentences that go on too long. Now you'll remember, hopefully you watched my other video on sentence fragments. You're probably better off watching that first because it's important to know what a sentence must have in it to be correct. That video explains it. So just to summarize or remind you if you've seen it, I must have the eraser on here. A correct sentence needs a subject, it needs a verb, and probably more important than anything, it needs to express a complete thought. Okay, so that's what a formal correct sentence should have in it. If that's what it should have in it, what should sentences not have in them? All right, let's have a little look at the main reason. Okay, a sentence should not have in it two independent clauses just sitting side by side. All right, it should not be made up solely of two independent clauses. You're probably throwing your hands up in the air right now going, I don't know what an independent clause is. This is too hard. Actually, an independent clause just means a complete sentence. All right, so a sentence should not be made up of two complete sentences. All right, a sentence is a sentence. If you've got two sentences, they shouldn't be joined together. All right, they should be separated. So, what does this look like? Sometimes two sentences are incorrectly joined with a comma. This is called a comma-splice run-on sentence. And this is your kind of classic example. I love chocolate, it is delicious. All right, the two ideas are closely related. However, grammatically, I love chocolate is a sentence. Subject, verb, and then your complete thought. Look on the other side of the comma and you find there is another complete intact sentence. It is delicious. It is the subject, is the verb, and delicious completes the thought. So you have a sentence there, you have a sentence there, you have a comma there, so we have an error. It shouldn't be like that. It's not allowed to be like that. It's against the rules of grammar. All right, so let's have a little look at the next slide. If I can get my thing to move on. Sometimes people leave out the comma altogether, and here's an example. We trekked all day, it was amazing. All right, I see this sort of thing all the time. So here we actually have two sentences. We trekked all day, that is a complete sentence. It was amazing, that is a complete sentence. Here I have it written down here. And you can't do that. You're not allowed to have a sentence on that side and a sentence on that side. You can't have two in the one sentence. They're two separate sentences and they need to be fixed. Here are some examples. These are all incorrect. And in a second, I'm going to suggest that you pause the video and have a look and try my little technique of looking in these ones here that have a comma in them. Look on either side of the comma and judge for yourself. Is that a sentence? Is that a sentence? If it is, the comma cannot be a comma. Okay? Do that for these ones here where there's a comma. For these two, there is no comma there. So I want you to look for yourself and find where you think one sentence finishes and the next one begins. Okay, so hopefully you've paused it and had a little look and you've had a look down through these sentences and been able to see that there is a fully intact sentence on either side of that comma, and so they shouldn't be like that. And then when you got to the last two, hopefully you were able to see that 17 children went is a sentence and they had a good time is a sentence, and that's where the two sentences are being joined incorrectly. And here, the man cried is a sentence, and so is he was so upset, and that's where the error is there. Okay, so now that we can see where the errors are, let's look at how they should be fixed. And there are three ways to fix this kind of run-on sentence error. The first and most simple one is that you divide the two sentences into clear sentences using punctuation. You just put in a full stop, you add a capital letter, and it looks like this. The campsite was flooded by rain. We all got drenched. Pretty simple, okay? But it becomes correct as opposed to incorrect. The second way of doing it is to add a conjunction so that you have a compound sentence or a complex sentence. Now, I know this is starting to make some of you feel concerned because it's, that sort of the language of grammar and it's a bit hard, but I'm going to try and make it easier for you. First of all, a conjunction is just a word that joins things together. You see that junction in there? How you have junction of roads or rivers or whatever? It means joining together. So a conjunction is a word that joins things together. And here we've got some conjunctions. So that campsite one again, the campsite was flooded by rain. We all got drenched. If we add the conjunction and in there, we get a compound sentence. Okay, and that becomes correct. If we want to make a complex sentence, we add another kind of conjunction either in the middle of the sentence to join the two parts together. I went to the beach, although it was crowded. Or sometimes you can add it at the beginning of the sentence. While 17 children went, they had a great time. Okay, so adding in a conjunction, you can make the sentence a bit longer and perhaps more interesting, add some variety to your writing, but make it, more importantly, make it correct so that you're not breaking the rules of grammar. Notice when you add a conjunction, if you put this conjunction in here, this is called a subordinating conjunction. What it actually does is it turns this part of the sentence into a sentence fragment. So that couldn't stand alone anymore on its own. This bit could, the bit at the start, that could, but this bit couldn't. And that's what we call a complex sentence. Here, we've put the conjunction onto this bit of the sentence, and that becomes the sentence fragment. This bit is still here. That is still a complete sentence. And that attaches to that. That's the independent clause. That's the dependent clause. And these two become complex sentences. Okay, so they are quite good things to include in your writing, and that's how you do them. All right, we'll keep going. I'm trying not to make the video too long. And the third way to fix a run-on sentence error is to use a semicolon. A semicolon is a punctuation mark that has a full stop on top and a comma underneath. Some people call it like a half full stop or a half comma, but actually I don't like that at all because it just confuses people. A semicolon actually is exactly the same, it does exactly the same job as a full stop. So you remember before you're allowed to use a full stop and capital letter to separate these two. Here, the semicolon does the same thing. The only difference is you don't capitalize the letter that comes after it, but it has the same function as a full stop. What you use it for is to add a bit more interesting variety to your writing, and it creates a sense of connection between the two sentences. If the two sentences are really strongly connected to each other, a semicolon does that job much better than a full stop, and it creates that sense of flow between the first sentence and the second sentence. So here's another example. I went to the beach, semicolon, it was crowded. All right, so they are the three ways sorry, I'll go back to my slide. They're the three ways that you fix a run-on sentence error. Now we want to do a bit of practicing, okay? So identify run-on sentence. Is this a run-on sentence or is this a good sentence? All right, pause it if you like and make your own decision. Okay, so this one is actually a good sentence. It is not a run-on. What we've done here is we've got a conjunction here at the start, which means this is not a complete sentence on its own. It's a sentence fragment or a dependent clause. This is an independent clause. It could exist on its own. And this is a good sentence. It's a complex sentence, and it doesn't break the rules of grammar. Okay, next one. Travis enjoys Lego. He is really good at it. So pause this one and have a think about it. Is it a sentence or is it a run-on error? Okay, this one is a run-on. In this one, Travis enjoys Lego. That is a sentence on its own. He is really good at it. That is a sentence on its own. You cannot join two sentences with a comma. You'd need to correct that. That's not allowed. Okay, so to correct a run-on sentence, you divide them into two separate sentences using a full stop and a capital letter, or you can add a conjunction so that you've got a compound sentence or a complex sentence, or you can use a semicolon. And here are examples of all of these corrections. So, Travis enjoys Lego, full stop, capital letter. Travis enjoys Lego, comma, add the conjunction, and he is really good at it. Or adding in another conjunction at the front. Because Travis enjoys Lego, that becomes a sentence fragment. So we're no longer joining the two sentences together. He is really good at it. Okay, or here the third option, using a semicolon. Travis enjoys Lego. He is really good at it. So I feel like I'm rushing it a little bit there at the end, but I'm trying to keep the video not too long. There are millions of places on the internet for you to find examples to practice identifying run-on sentences and sentence fragments and get stronger at understanding them and not making some of those basic errors. Thanks for listening, everybody.